turn to the teacher. Turn to the teacher. Turn to the teacher. Turn to the teacher.
And welcome back. I'm Mike with the Turntable Teachers, and class is back in session. Here for another guest speaker episode at AOA Studios. If you're an artist, podcaster, or content creator of any kind, make sure to reach out to us at aoastudios.org to book your session or service today. And I'm joined by an incredibly special guest. I have wanted this man on for a long, long time, and he's finally here with us. He's a multi-instrumentalist, producer, artist. I mean, you really just kind of do it all.
Everything,
basically, at this point.
Yep.
Ski goggles and all. Leo the Kind, everybody.
That's right. Yo, Mike, man, thank you so much for that. That was awesome. You know, I'm glad that I was able to get on here finally. As you know, man, life can get real crazy sometimes. Crazy. So yeah. I'm just happy that we carved out the time and I'm here. I'm really excited to be here. And this is really dope. I was on my way here and I called Rilla Force just to let him know. I'm like, yo, bro, guess where I'm going? I was like, I'm going to Mike's. He's like, what? Tell him I said, what up? So shout out to Rilla Force.
My guy, Rilla Force, man. Yeah, he's one of our previous guests, obviously. Mm-hmm. Had a lot of fun on that one.
Yeah.
So that was a good time. We love Rilla out here. And yeah, we've been a fan of you for a long time too, especially myself. I've really enjoyed, your music, and then also getting to know you a little bit over the last, year or so. It's been great. I'm glad we finally get to have you on, man.
Same, man.
It's been great. Yeah, because we met. Feels like about a year to the day now, officially, right?
Yeah, officially.
Because we knew each other through like social media and shit, right?
Yep,
but when we were at your the last JMC show, not the one that they just. Well, by the time this comes out, obviously proof of concept will already have happened, but. The one they did last year in 2023 at the Rockwell. You were walking by. I said, I gotta say what's up to Leo. I have never actually formally met him in person. Couldn't have been nicer, so I appreciated that a lot.
Nah, man, I appreciate you, and just like your support from day one has been just really refreshing, and it's something I didn't take lightly, bro. So
I appreciate that, man. That's what I'm trying to do out here is just support as many artists, independent, local artists, whatever it is that I can, and that's the role. So
this is it, man. This is support.
And give them a platform to get on here, talk a little about the music, different stuff that you might care about. Yeah. Some stuff I might have found out about.
Yeah. I'm like, oh shoot. Hey.
Well, everyone's getting a little nervous in the garden. Again, it's nothing serious. It's nothing too embarrassing. But of course, as many of you know, if you're a fan of ours, we start with the objectives. This is where we get to know a little bit about you and your background.
Sounds good.
So obviously, what has led up to today. And so, like I had mentioned before, I know you're a self-taught producer. Yeah. That's kind of where you got your start. Singer, songwriter, multi-instrumentalist. As a kid, you were making beats on your PS2. That's how you kind of got your start.
That's right.
And then you initially started making EDM as an alias by Imaginate. Is that correct?
Yep.
So talk to me about how that journey early on, getting to Imaginate, and then how you transitioned to Leo the Kind, because now you're not making. I would say that there's maybe at times there's like an electronic element to your music, but now it's more on that pop.
Yeah.
Hip hop art, like hip hop pop kind of, or almost, I don't want to call it indie pop. I don't know. It's it's kind of an amalgamation of different things. So, talk to me a little bit about that those early years, producing on PS2, being Imaginate to now that transition to Leo the Kind.
For sure, man. That was, it's been quite a journey. Sometimes it doesn't even feel real. I ain't gonna hold you, but so the PS2 thing, right? So I used to live with a lot of my family. So I used to live with my cousins, my grandmother, my grandfather, my uncle. We lived in a big old house in Dorchester all together. And my cousins were like local rappers. And what they did was use PS2. They used Music Maker to make their beats, and they would just freestyle. And so I would just sit up there and watch them do it over and over. I'd be like, you know what? I'm going to try this. So when they would leave, I would sneak up back into their room, turn on the PS2, and just start putting loops together. Because that's all Music Maker really was. It was just like a bunch of like loops that you just put together and shit. So that's what I was doing. And for a while, no one really noticed until they started to see the different beat names pop up. And they were like, who's making these beats? And then my cousins realized it was me. And they told my dad. And my dad was like, all right, I'm going to get you a a computer. So my dad ended up investing in me. He got me a computer and a MIDI keyboard. And then from there, I got FL Studio, and I was just making beats like all day long. Like I wasn't doing homework, none of that stuff. Like for real, like it was bad. But after a while, I just started to tell my friends like, yo, like I got beats, like you should check them out. Or I don't know, like just for a while, I was really shy about it, but you know, I was doing it every day. And I think it wasn't until I had went to college that the EDM thing kind of opened up. So actually right before I went to college in high school, my teacher, his name was Mr. Gomes. I went to a vocational high school. So he was our arts instructor kind of.
Sure.
And he would play music in the background when he would do his programming, and he would play house music. And I never had heard house music up until his classes. And so I'm listening to house music. I'm like, yo, like this shit is hard. I was like, yo, Mr. Gomes, what is this, bro? And he's like, oh, this is Dead Mouse. You need to go home.
Dead Mouse. He was playing Dead Mouse in middle class. Oh, that's
middle
sick.
class. It was that
Shout
I
out Mr.
remember
Gomes,
song.
man.
Shout out to Mr. Gomes, bro. Changed my life, bro. That night, he was like, you need to go check out house music. So that night, I was like, oh, shit. So I went and I listened to all of Dead Mouse's shit that night. Because I was like, I've never heard something like this before. Yeah. So the next day, I was making house music. The next day, I was like, yep, the BPM, like I got it. And so then I went to college, and then this is when like EDM was like blowing up. This was like 2013.
So yeah, we're right around the same age then, because I was in college from 2012 to 2016. So the EDM thing was definitely bigger, and I felt like it was getting a little bit more embedded in like not only pop music but also hip hop and sort of things like that. Like I remember back into my college years, the entity now is escaping me, but like even someone like Logic was on an EDM artist, Big Gigantic, was on like a Big Gigantic song, so I feel like you were starting to see some of that like crossover at that time,
right? And so my thinking was, it's just going to continue to cross over, so I'm going to jump the gun and do it myself, and that's what I did at first with the Imaginate projects. Like I wasn't singing on them, but I just knew like you could bring hip hop and EDM together, and you can kind of make this world. And so I ended up getting signed to Heroic Records. Shout out to Heroic and Buddy Voogd. I haven't talked to those dudes in so long, but they signed me. They're based in Amsterdam, and they signed. They signed fucking San Holo. He was a big EDM. He still is, but that's how he got his break, was through them.
No kidding.
And so one of my boys, like in college, shout out to Carlos. Yo, Carlos, one of my boys in college, he put me on to the label. He's like, yo, you should just send them a demo and see what happens. I sent them one of my tracks, and it was like, yo, we'll release this. And me and him looked at each other like, what? Sick. Like, you're about to get on an EDM like label. So from there, I was like, all right, I'm going to do this EDM shit for a while. And so, you know, I released a couple of tracks with them. They did good. And then my boy Carlos, he was like, yo, I'm doing EDM too, but I want you to like sing on these records because I know you got a voice. So we started collaborating and singing. And he was just like, you shouldn't call this Imaginate because it's different than, you know what I'm saying, what Imaginate. It was more beats and stuff.
Right.
And like I'm singing and writing. So I thought about it for a while, and I was like, damn, should I really change my name? Like, and I did it. I was just like, all right, maybe I can come up with this name that's like a hybrid of the two. And I'm not going to lie, for a long time, I was lost for a long time because I was doing something that I didn't really have a plan. Like there's no blueprint on. So I was just like, how am I going to go from EDM to but I just was like, all right, just keep making music, bro, and see what happens. So that's kind of what I did. And then over time, you know, my voice developed and the sound morphed and developed, and I just, now we're here. Now I'm at this weird mix of like hip hop, R&B, pop, EDM. Like I just,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, that's what I've always fascinated me about your. Well, thank you. First off, before I even get to this part,
Yeah.
thank you for the Spark Notes version of
Yeah,
your
yeah.
of your history. That was really cool to like take that journey with you almost.
Yeah.
There was a piece I want to go back to, but
Yeah.
there is a something I want to say first. Is like I've always, when I first got onto your music, I found it quite refreshing, like because I feel like it was a lot different than what I was typically hearing from I don't want to call it the underground scene, but the scene here in Massachusetts. A lot of like what people were making. I feel like you were bringing something fresh and new to the table. Like there's two artists in particular. It was you and another artist by the name of Heath 240. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Heath 240. He's out of Roxbury.
Oh yes, actually yes.
But
240, dang. Man.
Yeah, but you guys, I feel like especially you're just two examples of people that I feel like were making really different styles of music that were, still had a hip hop element to it, but definitely had a more pop appeal.
Yeah.
And so that was always cool for me to see. Even someone like Mako too, I felt like for a long time was like sort of getting back. He's even more, I think, some more indie pop now. But so it's just cool to see some different different styles and then how people sort of progress throughout their careers. And so for your music, I thought that was definitely something that I always admired about it. Yeah. But one thing I wanted to go back to was your dad. You had mentioned your dad kind of investing in you in a way.
Yep.
And so I know he was the first person that took you to a studio, correct? And like showed you around. And I read something that I thought was interesting where you were pretty much saying like you were at the studio and you were fascinated by the fact that people were making a living off of that. And you were just like, I want to do that shit.
Absolutely.
So was that the moment where you decided like, yeah, this is it. I'm diving headfirst into this. And then how difficult was it for you to then transition from, okay, I'm just creating these loops and these beats on PS2 to now like I am embedded in FL Studios, I'm embedded in these softwares. Like, was that a natural sort of, was that process easy for you, or was that learning curve like a bit more challenging in a lot of ways?
It was a lot of trial and error, but in a good way. Like so when I met Nelly, he's the engineer who I met that day. When I met Nelly at his studio, first of all, I am, if it wasn't for music, I'd be a mechanic, 1,000%. I love cars. But when I went to the studio and realized I didn't have to work on cars, I was like, whoa, bro. And so I sat with him for a minute and just watched him work. And I was asking him all these questions. I was like, you don't like have a job? Like, this is what you do? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, I had never thought of that, bro. Yeah. And so from that moment, so this was before wanting to be an artist, wanting to be a producer, that I mean, and I believe this is at my core. I just want to live off of music, right? That's at my core. So that at that age, I was so young, that's all I was thinking about was like, I just want to live off of music. So when he showed me that, I was like, yeah, I think I could do that. so I came up with a plan. I was like, all right, I'm going to go to school. I'm going to get my degree in recording, and then from there, I'm just going to see what happens. And that was my plan. So I just, all the way through high school, that was my plan, like since 10th grade.
Yeah. Yep. That's awesome. I'm really happy that, again, I'm on for, as being a fan of your music, I'm happy that happened that way. You know what I mean? There's plenty of mechanics. There's only one Leo the kind. right. Not that you couldn't, do that on the side.
Well, that's it. That's what I'm working towards. So I can have my own garage, and then I can do it on my own.
Yeah, just have be a little hobby for you.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love it. And then I know. So when did people like Swaggerlicious and Keithen, Bassman, Foster, I know they were like both Grammy. So Swaggerlicious is a Grammy award-winning producer. Is that correct?
Yep.
And then Bassman's a little more of like a production partner, right? But he's also Grammy nominated.
Yep.
So I know that they were very influential in like mentoring you early on. So when did they come into the fold, and like how did that all come to play?
So it's funny. I knew Bassman for years. I knew him like maybe like right when I got to college, because so how I know Bassman is we went to the same church. We still go to the same church, but we went to the same church at the time, and like he just knew me as like a beat maker just at his church, and so we would talk about like different plugins, and I would share with him like mixing tips and all that stuff. But it wasn't until like 2018 that we started like really working closely together. So I think what happened was you know, at that time I had Windows out, I had Space out, and those were really catching fire, you know, in the Massachusetts scene. And I think that because I already had that relationship with Bassman, he just knew like, all right, he's gonna need like a big brother in this, because where he's going, Bassman, you know, where I'm going, Bassman has already been, and so he's gonna be able to kind of like usher me in. So what happened was, he's like, yo, bro, like this was in like 2018 or 2019. He's like, yo, this was 2019. He's like, you need to come out to LA and come to this Sony session with me. Because at the time, and he still is, but he was signed to Sony Publishing, and they were doing a writing camp out in LA during the Grammy week. Dope. And so he was like, you need to come out because it's Grammy weekend. Everybody's here. You need to come out and hang. So I was like, all right. So I ended up, this is mad funny. I always forget about this when I think of this story until this part. I had to sell my PS4 to get a plane ticket to go.
No way.
I did, yeah.
The irony of it all.
Yeah, the irony of it all, right? So I didn't have no money, all right? So to get my plane ticket, I had to sell my PS4. So I was like, all right, fuck it. Like, this evens out if this is going to be what gets me there. So I end up going there, and the first person I met, so we had the session at Westlake Studios. So if y'all don't know what Westlake is where Michael Jackson recorded Billie Jean. Crazy studio. Absolutely insane. Can't even think about it to this day. But the first person I saw when I walked in was JoJo, from like our JoJo.
Right.
Yeah, from Boston. And like,
so the serendipity of this entire thing is kind of nuts.
Yeah.
Because I had a question about JoJo later on, but that's okay. You continue.
Yep.
Keep going.
So our JoJo. Yep. So we go. I open the door, like literally. I open the door, and she spins around in the chair and is like, "Oh, hey!" And I was like, "Hey, what's up, JoJo?" And so I go in, and it was my first time meeting Swag. So I met Swag, and then Bassman was there, and then for like the first 2 hours, I was just like mad nervous in the corner, just sitting in the session, like, yo, there's like some super producers in here, and I'm just like, do I even belong in here? Type.
You get that imposter syndrome.
Yeah, type feeling.
Yeah,
so
totally.
It wasn't until his mad funny Bassman had left, JoJo left, and it was me, Swag, and another artist. I can't remember his name, but it was me, Swag, and another artist, and Swag and the other artist were playing beats and like recording, and then Bassman had came back, and he was like, "Yo, you still haven't gotten a booth yet?" I was like, "Nah." He was like, "Get in the booth right now!" Like he big brothered me into the booth. So I got in, and I started freestyling, and then so I'm freestyling, and all these people start walking in the room, and I'm like, "Yo!" But I see them. I'm in the booth. I can see them, but I'm just like, all right. I'm still trying to figure out what I'm doing to the song. So I'm going, and I walk out, and I'm like, damn, where all these people come from? Turns out in the next room, Usher was having a writing camp. Yep, in the next room, and all his producers heard what we were doing. All the producers came out and was like, yo, who's that? It's crazy, absolutely insane. And then from that moment on, Swag and Bassman was like, we locking you in, bro. And that's how that started. Yeah.
That's fire.
Yep, in 2019.
Wow. And 5 years later, here you are.
5 years later.
And you've had a lot of things happen in that time.
Big run.
What piece of advice or some element of the industry, either the industry or process or whatever it is, what's something that you've learned from them that you still apply today that you feel like has really been essential from a long-term perspective?
Yeah, man, it's believing in yourself. I know that sounds so simple, but it really is that. I've had a lot of people tell me what they thought I should be or do or sound like. And it just, like, I don't know, man. I think that it's one thing to have advice. I'm also just getting over a cold, so sorry about that.
I think I'm like getting into one, so like we're good. It's fine.
Like, there is no blueprint to being an artist, and I know that people will say that they think they have it figured out, and I know that I will sit here and look like I have it figured out. I don't, but I know that what has kept me going is the belief in my art and in myself, because people are going to tell you so many different things, bro. just along the way, and you just have to believe like, no, my idea is better. Like you just have to, no matter who it is, how high. Like I've had people who are worth $100 million tell me what they think I should be doing. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, but then it's you that have those repercussions as an artist. When you take those risks, it's not them, it's you.
Sure, of course.
So
Makes total sense.
you have to keep that in mind. So it's
Cool.
Believe in yourself, bro. That number one.
Love it.
Got to be that.
I love that.
Yep.
You heard it here, people.
Yep.
Believe in yourself.
Believe in
I think
yourself.
that's huge. I think that's a huge piece of it. And even though it might seem corny is not the word, or just it might seem I don't know, just very surface level, like that's just like an easy sort of like answer.
Yeah.
It's incredibly important because, like I said, it all starts with you.
It does.
And if you are wishy-washy about what you want and what you see for yourself,
Exactly.
right? It's like all that manifestation, like that's important in the long term to like get where you want to go. Like
Absolutely.
You have to have crazy ideas that you think are either reality or even have some sort of validity to continue.
Exactly.
Because some people are going to think they're crazy ideas. A lot of them, like a lot of ideas that I've had for my own specific creative, like maybe on the surface they've sounded kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But it's up to you to kind of like, can you make these things a reality at the end of the day? And like, it's that belief in yourself to start it. Like you if you can't believe in it, then how's anyone else going to believe in it? So that's hugely important.
You have to see it. You gotta have that vision.
I love it.
Yep.
Well, I love that. That was great background on Leo the Kind. And now we're going to move into the main lesson. So this is what you got going on now these days. And so you've released quite a bit of music over the last couple of months. And it feels like you're gearing up for, I don't know, maybe you're gearing up for something bigger, or if you're just, dropping music. But you've had Dark recently, A Lot on My Mind, and then Up All Night, which at the time we're recording this isn't out yet, but by the time this is out, it'll be out now. So make sure all those links will be, in the description. Don't go anywhere quite yet because we have plenty going on with Leo. But
sounds good
for you guys afterwards to check out. Maybe we'll even give a little bit of preview of one of these in just a few minutes. But so you've all these singles that you've dropped recently. So what's been your goal in releasing these singles? Are they leading up to some sort of project? Is it just singles? And then what do you want current and new fans to feel when they hear these records and like almost feeling like this newer era of Leo the Kind music?
Yeah, I think it's funny that it started with Dark because it's kind of where I made the decision to, like, my philosophy with music changed right when I started to release Dark. So Dark was completely mixed, recorded, mastered by me, right? And in the past, like, I've done that for other people's records, but my records weren't always 100% me. So what I'm trying to do now is I was working a lot on my mixing skills, and so I'm trying to have it to be where these next few records, whether it be the next 10 or 12, is just going to be mixed and mastered by me. And really, I'll be completely honest with you, I'm just trying to get an algorithm going again on my Spotify with the release schedules. It is building up to something. I don't know what that looks like yet, but I know that I want to be back consistent, engaging with the community and my fans. And how I can do that is by releasing music on a consistent basis. And when you're able to eliminate the recording costs, the mixing costs, the promoting costs, when you're able to eliminate all that stuff, I'm just like, all right, I got all this music that I want y'all to hear, and there's a way for me to do this that will also benefit me as well. And so that's kind of what I'm doing for these next few months is I got all these heaters that I just want y'all to hear. I just want people to hear these at this point, because it's not like, I feel like what I mean by my philosophy changing is I just feel like I want people to hear my music now.
Yeah.
Like, I think I've spent so much time in the studio just reinventing, crafting, sculpting, reinventing, crafting, sculpting. I've done changes, plugins, programs. Like, I'm at this point now where I'm like, this is solid. This is good. Now we can start putting stuff out like consistently.
Yeah.
So what I'm also doing is I have a lot of success in the sync licensing world, and I'm just leaning into that too. Like, a lot of these records are big records, and I want them to sound big so that when I'm pitching for sync it's like, oh, these are already out. These are streaming. These are doing good.
Yeah.
You know, think about these records. That's kind of, you know, where I'm at. I think that, you know, probably in like the next year or so, there will be a project, but I'm still trying to figure out how I want to do it. I mean, you know, there's so many different ways that I could go. I could do Beyonce and just drop a country album, or, you know, I could drop a rock. It's just like, it's one of those things where I just have to sit down and be like, what am I going to do for a project? I don't really know.
Yeah, it's funny you say all this because without having all that context, and maybe this is a good thing, that in my perception of your platform, all of this, since Dark has released, this has felt like a new era of Leo the Kind.
Yeah.
So it's funny to hear all this context because it feels that is the case.
Yeah.
Because I think 2023 you had dropped Skeletons, and was there anything else you had dropped in 2023? I think that was maybe it, right?
Just Skeletons. I think Dark was in 2023.
But more towards the end, I feel like.
It was just Skeletons. Yeah,
basically just Skeletons. So I felt like, you know, now coming into this new year, it's felt ramped up a bit. So I wasn't sure, okay, what's the reason for that?
Definitely.
Do you just feel ready?
I'm ready, yeah.
So, and one thing you'd mentioned too that I'd like to talk a little bit about as well, it would be the sync licensing piece of it, because I just had Rosewood Bape on, so that was just a couple episodes ago, and we had a similar conversation about sync licensing and just how it's one of those elements of the music business that really artists should be trying to tap into as much as they possibly can and figure out where they maybe fit in that world. So without giving away the whole game or anything like that, how did you feel like you fell into that piece? And then what's maybe one piece of advice you would potentially give an artist that is struggling to kind of break free into the sync licensing sort of side of things?
That started with EDM.
Yeah?
That was EDM.
Fair enough.
EDM got me right in that door because one of my boys, so Carlos, I'm telling you, Carlos, you the man, bro. Like, you hooked me up a lot. But Carlos,
shout out Carlos.
My boy Carlos, aka Exod, that's his EDM name. But one of the first records we did, it introduced me to sync licensing. He introduced me to sync licensing. So he was being managed by some company at that time, and they knew what they was doing. And so we had a big EDM song, and at the time, this wasn't like a sync licensing company. It was kind of just through his management. They had connections, and we had this record, and they were like, yo, like, I think we're going to get this shit on Microsoft. And I was like, what?
That's sick.
That's insane. I was like, this record that we just made in his room? Like, and so it happens, it goes through, I get the money and everything. I'm like, that did not happen. Like, that is insane. Like, we got that from a one-time thing. It was a Microsoft conference, and they needed a background song. Our stuff was a background song. We got paid money for that. Like, money.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, there's so many angles to this. Like, there's so many things that you wouldn't think about, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I think for anybody that's not as familiar with the music business, this is a great side to learn. If whether you're an artist just trying to get into this scene, or if you have no concept of, even if you're not an artist, if you have no concept of the music business. Like, I say this to people all the time, right? They'll, like, someone like Harry Styles, for example. I don't know if it's in the frame, but either way, like, his album's right there, right?
Yeah.
And if you go on Harry Styles' Spotify, right, I think he averages, at least on that album, there's a few songs that have hit 1 billion. He's probably like in the hundreds of millions of streams,
crazy,
right, per month, right? So he's probably making great money on that on Spotify, or streaming. Not that many artists, are right now.
Yeah.
But when he had that sushi restaurant song playing on that Apple commercial, I was saying to people all the time, like, I don't know the numbers, but I'd be willing to bet that he's making way more money every time that commercial spins on that Apple commercial than he's making at all on Spotify. And that's a sync licensing thing. Like, it has to be. That's at least my thought.
And that's the game.
Yeah.
People think that and I'm going to say this because this is what I truly believe. They think you need to have the streams. It's not the streams, bro. It's sync licensing. Like, you'll become a millionaire faster. I promise you. You become a millionaire faster off of sync licensing than you will off of streams, unless you get like and it's funny that you say that about Harry Styles, because the reason why I go so hard on that sync licensing stuff is because I've seen it happen 1 million times with records that just blow up because they're on a taco commercial, or because it's Coca-Cola, or because There's another Apple commercial, and this was years ago. Milan Hill, down, down, da, da, down, da, down, da, down. That was an Apple commercial.
Yeah, there's some songs that have almost gotten found from some of these sync licensing plays, right? Like Tizo Touchdown, and as another example, like I know he was bigger already as it was, but I think that Taco Bell commercial was huge for him.
Yeah, because now the kids are talking about him.
Right, exactly. Yep. So I think and I feel like sync licensing too. People think like, well, my song could never be on an Apple commercial or a Microsoft or a Taco Bell, but it's like you don't even necessarily need that caliber of company to get a sync licensing deal. For example, I don't want to say too much detail wise, but there's a song that I was a part of for my album that I'm working on that almost got picked up by a TV show. Wow. And it wasn't like this big TV show either, but the artist specifically, again, just for like confidentiality, I don't want to say too much about it because the deals, and I don't want to say it's in flux or it's maybe not going to happen. But the certain artist reached out to us and was like, yeah, it's not a huge TV. To me and the producer and everyone that's involved in the song was like, it's not a huge TV, show or whatever that, but it might get played on, this network or whatever, and it was pretty cool. I was like, this is sick. If they decide to use it, great. Like that would be fantastic for us. Right. Even if it's not a huge TV, like it's still you're gonna, whatever deal you would make there, you're still gonna get some type of residual on that every time it runs or whatever it is. So. Yeah, I think that's and even as a music manager now too, like that's a world I want to learn more about because that's like as an artist, right, or as an entrepreneur, as whatever, like you got to have those different revenue streams, right? Yeah, a lot of people like they want to, again, and rightfully so. People want to bitch and moan about the Spotify thing. I get it.
Yeah, 1,000.
It makes total sense. It's very terrible.
Yeah.
But maybe channel that energy somewhere else, right? Say like, okay, well, I can be frustrated about this that Spotify doesn't pay us out. Yeah. But how else can I make money off of my artistry? Yeah. There's so many ways to do it. Yeah. And you just got to find those avenues, and I think that's another piece of it that people get discouraged early on when they're not seeing the streams or they're not seeing these things. Right. It could just take one sync licensing deal or a short distribution deal, and it could really make a huge difference for you.
Change your life.
It could change your life.
And for the artists that think that, my stuff could never be synced, you have no idea what these companies are looking for. Sometimes they don't even know. To keep it 1,000 with you, right? They don't know until they know. They hear it and they're like, "Oh yeah, this is what we want."
We can use that exactly.
So what I would say too to that is listen to what is synced and try to make your shit sound like that. Simple as that. Make your shit sound like what's synced, and then I promise you'll get it synced. Yeah, you just gotta make it sound like what they want, and then that's it. Yeah. I think like the key is to keep
find boutique. Another thing too, like find boutique sync licensing. Yes, there's a bunch out there. Like
there's a million
companies that will help you get on. They basically will middleman you to get these deals. That's what I mean?
That's all I do. Yeah, work with them, work with those companies, and make those connections and keep those connections. Like even if what I'll do too is like even if what they're asking for is something I don't directly have, I still submit. But I just want them to see my name over and over and over again.
Because you never know, right? When they're going to decide that, we need that Leo the Kind, that specific Leo the Kind song is going to work for this commercial, or, because really people think about it too, like, TV shows, movies, right? All these, that's all sync licensing. Like those artists, those bands, they're getting those singers, those songwriters. They're getting paid for those songs to be in your favorite TV show on Netflix or the movie that you just saw, right? Like it's, or even on a trailer, right? There's so many video games. There's a million ways. Commercials. The Microsoft thing was straight. Yeah, like they needed background for their conference. Like that's just. Like so random, but whatever. It put money in your pocket. So that's great.
Sure did.
That's great. So there's some placements you've had that I want to talk about in just a second because I feel like it's really cool. But before we do that, I want to take a quick break, and I want anybody that's maybe never heard a Leo the Kind song. What's a good introductory song? Is it one of these last 3 releases you've just had? Yeah. Is it a previous one?
It's probably Dark.
Dark. Yeah, that's my favorite too. I'm glad you said that.
It'll be where things are gonna go. Pretty much. I love it.
So. We're gonna play if you're cool with it. We're gonna play a quick clip of Dark. All right, this is Dark by Leo the Kind. We're just gonna play a snippet of it if you guys get a taste. And we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
I've been with the judge, ain't got no jail. Just been 40 at the market, got no bills. I done paid the haters, all I paid my bill. Cause if I didn't, then I might have went to jail. Making plans, touch a quarter mil. was coolin' with the gang on the field. And you know I'm really brave, but I'm failed. So many times still I'm back out on the field. I got the 100 now, putting out the fire. Drop the 100, I've been talking to suppliers. Got some money in my pocket, need a driver. Got 100 in my pocket, need a rider. That Bacardi blinking, orange sick and tired. They ain't know that I was on it, I'm a fighter. I ain't got no more opponents, I'm a guy. I paid the price, it's whatever on the line. Yeah, if we end up running in the dark, promise you, always keep it real. Promise you, always keep it real. Promise you, always keep it real. If we end up running in the dark, promise you, always keep it real. If you say you will, then I will. If you say you will, then I will.
And that was Dark by Leo the Kind. It is linked in the description below. It's out on all streaming platforms. But don't go anywhere yet. We have plenty left with Leo the Kind, but make sure you hit those links right after the episode and add any of these songs to your favorite playlist. There's gonna be something here you'll like, I promise.
Absolutely.
Leo, of course, now we have to do a pop quiz.
All right.
This is the inevitable sort of progression here. So, if you're a fan of Leo the Kind, just coming on to us for the first time, Pop Quiz is a segment where we ask the guests rapid fire questions. Some of these questions have to do with music. Some have absolutely nothing to do with music whatsoever. It's just
Perfect.
stuff I found out about you that I feel like would be good to ask.
Okay.
Because we get on Turntable Teachers, we like to know what you care about outside of music as well. All right. So it's fun. They're going to get easy and they'll get progressively more difficult potentially. But they're all questions about you, so you can't possibly fail.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever failed, so you'll be okay. So off the sync licensing thing that we were just talking about, I know you've gotten credits on ESPN, Disney Plus, ABC, Hulu, Nike, amongst others. Which one are you most proud of? Or think about maybe from the perspective of young Leo the Kind, right? Before he was even Leo the Kind. Which one would young Leo the Kind have been most proud of to know that adult Leo the Kind got a sync licensing deal on, with X company or X platform?
It's definitely Disney Plus. I've gotten the most head turns from that. People been like, what? like ESPN is like, all right, yeah, it makes sense, sports and stuff. But when you say Disney Plus, they're like, oh, you're making money. It's like, first of all, it wasn't even that much. But yes, that is huge because also. So how that happened was
what show is it, by the way?
It is the crossover. So it is Giannis the Giannis show.
Gotcha.
So Giannis's show or whoever. But when it dropped, LeBron had live tweeted it, and so LeBron tweets it, and all my friends are like, "Yo, this is the show you're on." Like, yeah, it's this show. So that's still mind blowing to this day. I didn't even know I was gonna get it. Like the lady. So I found out I was going to get it a year before it happened. Okay. So had to wait a whole year just to see if it was going to happen. So I was just sitting around, and then they finally hit me and was like, "It's live, it's live." I was like, "Okay, bet it made it. It made the cut because sometimes it just don't make the cut." So
yeah. Well, that's good to know. Mm-hmm. And then ESPN, were you on? I'm trying to remember. I feel like I remember when that happened. Was it one of those was it a highlight reel on SportsCenter?
And it was Ain't Nobody Gonna Judge. Yep, that was dope. That was crazy.
That's fantastic. Well, yeah. So in case that perked your ears up, ESPN, Disney, ABC, Hulu, Nike, the sync licensing deal is a big thing, man.
Huge.
Get through it. Get there. You used to do a lot of covers on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
So what's the favorite cover that you've done?
Damn.
And a song you'd like to cover, but maybe you haven't yet?
Okay. My favorite cover is definitely Cardigan by Don Toliver. I love that one. That's just, I did it in such a cool way. I'll never forget that one. One that I haven't done yet that I would love to do, it's probably so technically I've done it. I just haven't put it out yet. Okay. So Golden Hour by Jake.
Okay.
It's I did a really fire rendition, but I don't know if it's gonna come out. I really don't know because I'm still kind of insecure about it. But it's a really
jump in the
fire
comments.
song.
Make sure we push him to put it in.
Yeah. That record's that's a really dope song. That Golden Hour.
Yeah,
song, really
100%. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to hear it personally. So people, let's put a little pressure on me. So obviously we got to go back to the roots, right? Best PS2 game of all time in your opinion, and why?
It is Grand Theft Auto San Andreas.
Okay.
Easily. That is one of the best, because it was so like, we was not supposed to be playing that. First of all.
At our age? Hell no.
No.
Hell no.
Nah. But the fact that you could like, just like do whatever. I think what's really funny is riding a bike and then shooting somebody on like a bike, like just like do. That game is mad funny, bro. Or like, you know,
It is hysterical.
The classic clips of like them going through the drive-through, like, let me get a number 9, number 7, number 13, number 14, like that classic clip. That's a good game, bro.
I'm not a big gamer personally anymore. I played a little bit when I was a kid, but not as much anymore. But I will say, if I got to blow off some steam, I just load up Grand Theft Auto 5 and just run people over.
Yeah, listen, you do it too.
Well, people might not expect it from me, but like, you know, I'm more of a pacifist than anything else. But sometimes I got to just go and steal like a really dope car, and drive 100 miles an hour through a 4-way, and just drive on the sidewalk. Like, I don't know. Sometimes I got to do it, and if I go to the hospital or get arrested, like sometimes I also like to know like, how far can I go? Like,
right.
And then get away with it, you know?
Right.
Like, can I get to 4 or 5 stars and like have
In
the
one
National
piece.
Guard try? Can I do it? I don't know. Personally, I don't know if you've ever knew this game, but personally, my favorite PS2 game of all time was Sly Cooper.
Oh yeah, Sly Cooper.
Sly Cooper was sick.
Amazing game.
That game was phenomenal.
I played all 3, 1, 2, and 3. Yep.
Seriously,
yeah, that's a
one was a classic.
Yeah, that
one was
was
super
crazy.
classic.
Yeah,
I remember beating that. I don't think because I don't have the attention span for video games. Like, I don't like beat video games like that.
I know what you mean.
But I think that was because I still haven't even technically beaten GTA 5. Like, I just
yeah.
I said this on another podcast. Like, I'm probably like 20% of the way through
I'm
it,
dead.
and I don't like for me it's one of those things where it's like,
Yeah.
if I finish it, great. Mm-hmm. But if I don't, like, I won't never lose sleep over it. You know what I
Right.
mean? It's not one of those things like, I need to finish GTA 5. But Sly Cooper was one of those games where I was like, I'm
That's
glad
a
I finished
fire
that shit.
game. Yeah.
Fire.
Because you wanted to finish it. Like that's how
it
that game
sick.
was.
It was so sick. And it was like difficult enough where like it was a challenge, you know?
Yeah.
It wasn't like super easy or anything like that. So
Yep.
yeah, I love that game. All right, I know you're a big COD guy too, right?
Yep, Call of Duty.
So which COD in that COD series is the best in your opinion, and
Modern
why?
Warfare 2, man. The OG Modern Warfare 2, though. Not the remaster. Not the remaster.
Olivia's behind the scenes,
Yeah.
freaking out right now. Shout out Olivia on the ones and
OG.
twos.
Listen, I played the remasters and I'd be so disappointed. I'd be like, y'all failed us, bro, with these remasters. These are terrible, terrible remasters, but it's all right.
All right, Modern Warfare 2.
Yeah,
cool.
Modern Warfare 2.
I was a zombies guy.
I
never, me and my
definitely love
friends,
zombies, yeah.
Again, like I said, I've said this on air, but like I don't really do the campaign. I think it was actually talking with Rilla. I want to feel like I don't do the campaigns. It's just not. I don't know what it is. It just doesn't do much for me. But like in college, like my friends and I, like late night, we'd just be ripping zombies.
Yeah,
or like,
yeah.
You know,
I miss those days too.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
Those zombie days.
Games were great. You know, you get 3 of you. You're like. There was one, I can't remember which game it was specifically, but once you got to a certain part of the zombie, there was like a perch almost you could shoot them from, and then there was like a stairway. So you'd be like, all right, 2 people on the window, 1 person on the stairs.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yep. That's yeah, man.
We used to see hours and hours and hours.
But I miss games like that, bro. Like where you used to be able to do that. You can't do that, like unless you're playing like Fortnite. But that's it.
I don't play Fortnite personally.
Yeah.
But, what was it like opening up for JoJo? Because I know that was like a really cool story. Tell me about that.
That was sick, man. Her crowd, first of all, was so nice to me, and I was not expecting that. I'm not gonna lie, because like nobody knew who I was, right? They came to see JoJo, and you know she picked a really dope place to have a show, and I thought it was going to be like. Just, you know, we don't want to hear this. We want to hear R&B. Man, I get up there from my first song to the end. They were completely supportive and just, you know, like up, you know, engaging with me and stuff. It was really dope. It was an honor to then get off stage and have JoJo tell me I did a good job. You know what I mean? So I got off stage, gave JoJo a hug, and she's like, yeah, you did a good job, blah, blah, blah. And then she went up and did her thing, and I was like, that's dope. And so even afterwards, I'm in the crowd watching JoJo, and people are like, let me get a photo. What's your name again? Da, 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 da. I'm like, that was crazy. I did not expect it to go that way.
And then tell me a little bit about, so you got the call basically the morning of,
it was
right?
the morning of, yeah.
That's so. What was going through your mind? Like, did you even have a set ready?
No,
Like,
I shit myself because I was just like, who has something ready for? But it's one of those things where it's just like, all right, you either step up to the plate or
or you let the opportunity pass.
Let the opportunity pass, and I was like, it's JoJo. I've seen her. I've met her before. She may not remember, but I've met her before.
Well, she remembered it enough to, it was through like a manager, right? Or
it was through. But I think
cool.
I think like her just who it came from on her side, it was trustworthy enough on her end to be like, all right, have them have them open. So it was crazy though. I was like, I gotta go home. Like I wasn't even home when they called me. I was getting a haircut. I was like, I gotta go home. I couldn't leave mid cut, but yeah.
Yeah, well, it kind of worked out. You got a cut for that night. Perfect.
Yeah,
you were looking nice and fresh.
Yep.
All right, I gotta ask.
Yep.
All right, typically like, I don't know. This one's easy. You just I gotta know about the ski goggles.
Ski goggles.
So what is up with the ski goggles?
All right, so it is. I think this is part of the new philosophy thing too. So like I used to dye my hair a lot. And to be honest, I'm just lazy now. I don't want to keep doing it. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
Because you've had a bunch of different colors. You've had purple, yellow. Have you even done green too?
Green,
I feel like you've done green.
Green was the longest running one, but I think my favorite was blonde, to be honest. But I started to think about how I want this next phase of me, Leo the Kind, to look. And I keep seeing like, I had a really cool conversation with my boy Platinum about this. Shout out to Platinum. We're trying to figure out like, what does my sound look like visually? And I kept landing on like snow gear, like fits that were like bigger and just like really. Have you ever played SSX Tricky, like the old snowboard
I actually,
games?
believe it or not, as a gamer, I have.
Yes. Yes. That's what I keep seeing.
Interesting.
When I hear my stuff, I'm like, yo, I'm like this like retro futuristic, like really dope sound. And so I did not buy these. I stumbled upon these one day. I wish I could remember how I found them. I just don't. I just don't remember. But I just put them on one day for a shoot. I'm shouting out everybody. Shout out to Nick. Nick was my photographer for that shoot, and my hair was like red or orange at the time, and we did that shoot, and I was like, yo, this looks so fire, and that ended up being the cover for Dark.
Right. Yeah.
Like, this looks so sick. And so when I went to talk to my boy Platinum about it again, he was helping me at that time when Dark came out. His label actually released Dark, but he was helping me at that time with the visuals. And I was just like, bro, like I just see like this, like, I don't know, like this character in my head. That's what I want to be. And so I'm like, well, I gotta wear it now. So I was like, I'm showing up to Mike's with this shit on my head. So
it is not snowing today. By the way.
No, it's not.
Although it just did a couple days ago.
It did. I saw some snow on the ground out there. I was like, what the hell?
Yeah. At the time we're recording this.
Yeah.
All right. So as a big car guy, I need to know the amount. For whatever reason, I keep stumbling across this page on TikTok where it's all these mechanics and they have all these questions about, like, they'll ask, like, for example, the other day, like, is there a car that's a 10? And so they ask each like mechanic,
I know,
which car they think is close to a 10 or close, whatever. So as somebody that loves cars, what would you think, in your opinion, would be the Mount Rushmore of the best cars? Maybe, and you can take that whichever way you want. You can take that as like most reliable or the coolest or whatever. But in your opinion, the 4 best cars, and then give me the model as well, not just like the make.
I got you. This is easy. The McLaren P1.
Okay.
All right.
I got one of those. Yeah. So no problem.
La Ferrari, Aventador, any Aventador, Lamborghini Aventador, and Pagani Zonda. That's the Mount Rushmore. These are all exotic cars. Like the McLaren P1 is a beautiful car. Go look it up right now. It's a beautiful car. The La Ferrari is like a limited edition Ferrari. Ferrari is like very restrictive on who owns their cars, and this is just like a super. You have to own like 4 other Ferraris before you can even think about buying this one.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like
an exclusive club.
That selective. The Lamborghini, I love Lamborghini. It's like my favorite car brand, and the Aventador is like their newest car with the doors. And the Pagani Zonda is just a beautiful car too. It's a really nice looking car. Look that one up too.
Dope.
Pagani Zonda.
And then what brand of car do you feel like is the most reliable for the everyday driver like myself who cannot afford any of the cars you just mentioned?
Toyota all day long. Yep, Toyota. They've always had a great reputation. They're the cars that are doing those million miles. If you ever look up like a 1,000,000-mile car, it's probably a Toyota.
Cool.
Yep.
Very good. All right, Toyota people. Not sponsored, but you can be if you want to be. What's the most unique part of having a pet frog? I know you have a pet frog named Patty.
Patty McGee. The most unique part is the nigga don't come out. Like he just sits in the dirt. And they told me that when I got him, but I'm like, wow, he doesn't do anything, bro. But when it's time for him to eat, he comes up and he eats and like he'll go back in the dirt.
Wow.
It is crazy. I'm like, that's literally all you do. Like, but he's cool. I love him. He's the man. So that is the most unique part.
That I would say so. That sounds, because I've never owned a pet frog, so
Yeah.
I'm just curious. I'm very curious. And I know you don't know if you do have dogs. You like dogs though, right?
Love dogs.
You love dogs.
I wish I had one. I don't have one right now, but
It's okay. So there you go. If what's your favorite dog breed, and what would you name him or her if you got a dog?
so my favorite dog breed is a breed I can't have. I'm allergic to them. Is a pit bull. Now,
Oh my god, dude.
yeah,
Two of my friends have pits, and they're the best.
my dad
I
has a
love them.
pit bull, and you know, she's the best. Her name is Jean, and you know, I was living with my parents, so I was with her for a while. I love her, but my dog that I'm gonna get is probably going to be a miniature schnauzer.
Okay.
I don't know what I'm gonna name him, but it's gonna be something basic like John or Bob or Harry. I don't know. It's gonna be something like that, but yeah,
Cool.
miniature schnauzer because they're hypoallergenic, and I'd be able to like withstand the.
Right.
You know?
That makes sense. Cool. My last question in pop quiz is, I know you have a lot of very obscure and interesting tattoos.
Yes.
So you've like, I know you have pizza on your hand,
Pizza.
right?
Yep.
You have the one on your neck.
That's the logo.
The logo, right? You have, I know, like a little cross on your hand as
Yep,
well.
the
The
cross,
8.
8.
So tell me which tattoo maybe has the coolest story behind it and why.
Probably the logo. I mean, it's so the logo, like if you haven't seen my logo, it is a heart with a sword going through it. Okay? And the reason why that is because way back when I designed it with my boy Wayne, I told you I'm shouting out mad people. I'm glad I remembered people's names though, because that would be tragic. But my boy Wayne, I told him, I was like, yo, I want something that visually represents music that pierces the heart, and he nailed it. This was his first sketch.
That's dope.
He's just like, yeah, man, we're gonna draw a sword and put a heart through it. And so when he sent it to me, I was like, this is so dope. And I hadn't realized, but in that moment, we had created something that was going to be with me for the rest of my life. And so it wasn't until a year or two ago, I'm trying to remember when I got this done. I think it was 2 years ago, that when I made that decision to put it on my body, I was like, I cannot ever stop doing this now, because it's here now. Like, I can't stop. And so it just, even on those days where, you know, I'm having a tough time, I won't be the one to point it out. Someone will just be like, oh, I like your tattoo. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. I got the damn heart on my neck. Can't even run from it, you know?
No,
So,
absolutely not. But hey, no, you wear it right in a spot where nobody can't cover it very often.
Right,
so it's
right.
good. So it's, no, you're in it.
yeah,
I think there was like, who was it? It was an artist. I mean, I don't condone people go do this necessarily, but I think it was either Lil Skies or like Post Malone that like purposefully got face tattoos so that way they couldn't get another job. So that way they would specifically only do music.
Oh, wow.
I like, that feels like a little much, but
Yeah.
hey,
Yeah.
it's all good, right?
Right.
Whatever you need to tell yourself to, you know, make sure you don't quit the shit.
Right.
But anyway, that's Pop Quiz with Leo the Kind.
Word,
I
word.
think you did well. I think you got an A.
Yeah,
You
that
did
was
great.
dope. That
Well
was
done.
dope.
Well done.
Word.
I want to kind of switch gears a little bit. We've been talking a lot of music, and it's been great, right? But there's two other things that I think are really important to know about you as a person that I think would maybe get a little bit deeper here. So the first being that I know you just recently you're switching jobs, but I know that you had worked with the youth for many years, and that's like a big part of your life. And then I guess I'll tie in both elements of this. Screw it. I know that your faith is really important to you as well, and being a churchgoer, obviously with Olivia who's on the ones and twos, we that's how we all kind of got acquainted in a lot of ways.
Yep.
So I'm curious to know, like, for you specifically as a person, why you've taken so much time to give back to your church, give back to the community, and where you see the value in that. Not even really from a musical standpoint, just like, and how that will. Maybe I'll rephrase the question a little bit, because it feels like it's on brand for your name.
Yeah,
Leo the Kind, right? Like that kind of makes sense. So it's like, is that one of those things where that's all just true to your heart, and that's like who you are as a person, or is there like that fits the branding, or is that all just kind of encompassing in one? I'm curious to hear like your background about these things, and like maybe how they have affected you as a person.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's so funny, because when I created the name Leo the Kind, I had created it under the impression that it would be like Leo the Kind, so Leo one of a kind, so Leo the Kind, like there's only one kind.
Right.
But what ended up happening was everybody noticed, and I'm not saying this is a bad thing, but like everybody noticed that I'm just like a good person. So they took it the other way, where it's like, no, Leo the Kind, like you're a kind person. So I kind of just didn't really think anything of that. I embraced it because, that's dope. That's really cool. That's a good problem to have. So when it comes to like giving back and stuff, I think I always have wanted to do that. I think with the kids specifically, I have always said, I wanted to do some sort of like youth-based production program in the future. But that was me thinking like long-term, like, after the music and stuff, I blow up and notice I get all the money, whatever. Then I'll start the school. But an opportunity came my way where I was like, well, I could do it right now and still like do what I'm doing. And, I was like, all right, well, why not? And, personally at that time of my life, like I just didn't have the funds or even really the drive to do anything else. So really like that place kept me going in that direction. So, working with the teens, like, it was really rewarding. And I just found so much like just joy and like, in showing kids what I get to do every day. And I think a part of that too is like my dad like invested in me, but he wasn't really like there in my face like, all right, we're gonna make beats today. We're gonna like, he wasn't showing me. I did all the research on my own. So I also want to be that person for them where it's like, nah, like you can go and do this shit. Like, like you can actually do this. Like the same way my dad showed me Nelly's studio. Like I just wanted to be that for them because I saw myself in them, the ones that were interested in music, and so it's just like one of those things where it's like you have a gift. You should probably share it because these kids deserve it, and it's a no-brainer thing for me. I guess it just so happens that my name is Leo the Kind, and the brand and everything lines up. But it's funny because it's given me an idea for like that. I don't know if it'll be a nonprofit or like a charity, but I wanted to call it the Kind Fund. Like that'll be fire. Shout out to Bassman, because Bassman came up with that. He was like the Kind Fund as a joke, but I'm like, that's actually kind of fire. Like, we could come up with,
it totally is.
Some sort of something cool like that. So it's just,
Well, I think too, right? It just, it gives more of like, I don't know. I think it makes, I don't want to say makes you more accessible. I'm not necessarily condoning that artists be more accessible, but because again, you're a person, you want potentially your privacy and certain things like that. But I think for you, it's a really great opportunity to give back in a way that's a little bit more unique than your average. Like me as a teacher, right? Like, yeah, that's like the career I signed up for, right? But this is not necessarily like something you have to do, right?
Yeah.
So from that standpoint, I think it's, it helps the community, right? But then, like, do you find it potentially helping, give you new perspective when you're working with kids? Because like,
definitely.
do your kids that you work with or that you used to work with, like, were they listening to your music? Are they giving you feedback? Like, how is that
weirdos?
going?
So they like
they are weird, bro. They're interesting.
They weird.
They're interesting.
They found me on TikTok and
of course they did.
would
found
make
me
fun of me and be
100%.
Your TikTok videos. I'm like, yo, I got more views than you, more followers than you. I'm very, but I would find it so funny because they would point out like a dumb video and it's like, oh, like why is your butt in this photo or something stupid, and then I'd be like, bro, you don't want to ask me how I got verified. Like you asking me like dumb stuff, bro. You don't want to ask me that. So they supported me. You know, they always wanted to work with me. They knew that I knew what I was doing, and you know, I think they just saw me as like, oh yeah, Joshua does music like at a professional level.
Right.
We're still gonna clown him though, but
Oh yeah,
that's yeah.
Mine do the same thing. They definitely still give me a hard time for certain things.
Yep.
You know. Because they've naturally found either TikToks or Instagrams
Exactly.
or whatever. Right?
Yeah.
This past year, the first day of school, it's kind of funny. So I give them like a getting to know you sheet. So it's like, tell me like, your favorite, TV show, whatever, podcast, like whatever. I just do that whole thing. And some kid wrote down my podcast.
Wow.
And I thought my initial thought was, oh, he's trolling me.
Right. Right.
This friggin' little shit. He's trolling me, right? And so I'm like, no way. Like, there's no way, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, no, seriously.
Wow.
Like, and then started pointing out moments from certain podcast episodes. I'm like, oh, so you actually listened.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of dope. Because that's not something I actually ever really truly anticipated would happen. Of like, if they're going to listen, they might like try to like, these older,
right?
Like,
exactly.
They're old and dusty. They don't really know.
That's what you think. But
and some still probably do that, I'm sure, and have. But it was cool from that to hear that because it's like, okay, like because here's the thing, right? Like I think maybe this is I don't mean to switch subjects necessarily, but the last few years, the reason why I've been going so hard at this is because there's a scene here that is incredibly dope that I feel like only if you are embedded in the scene you know about, right?
Yep.
Like, for example, my students or whoever, like friends of mine, they'll be like, oh, who are you having on the podcast? Like, they won't know specific names. And that's another reason why I've been throwing shows and like trying to also get my friends and family or whoever to come to shows because it's like, no, I want you guys to see like what we have here. Like, for example, like I know unfortunately it didn't work out, but the show that you were supposed to do for us, like a friend of mine came and his girlfriend came. And they were blown away. I mean, they were blown away by everybody, but like he wasn't really super familiar with Meech Bold and Nali and Amanda Shea. And he walked away from that. I remember him texting me the next day being like, yo, Nali's incredible. Wow. Like, holy shit. Like, she's phenomenal. And then like he loved Meech Bold so much. He was like, dude, he has a song with Sir Michael Rocks. I'm like, I'm telling you, man, these people are doing things. You just got to like, so this isn't really a question, but it's just dawning on me like, Why in Massachusetts do you feel like maybe this is now becoming a question? Yeah. Why do we feel like it's so challenging to like get like our scene in front of Massachusetts itself? Because I've always thought about that, right? Like for us to be a national scene, we need to like be tapped in, or we need to get the art that is tapped into the masses in Massachusetts, right? No pun intended. But I don't know. I don't know even if I have a good answer to that. It's just I wonder like what the solution is from that perspective,
Well, I think that it is a lot better than it has been.
I completely agree with that.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna make it seem like it's we're behind, because I think 5 years ago when I got into it, I was like, and even for me being a huge music fan, I'm like, I was familiar with like Michael Christmas and Millie's and some of these other Joyner Lucas right before this, but then there's like a whole rabbit hole that turned into this incredibly beautiful vast land of different, it was kind of like almost Wizard of Oz type deal where you're like you fall and you're just like eventually you hit the ground and you're like, oh my god, this is incredible, So I don't know what it is specifically, but
well, I think it's there weren't enough people like Mike, like you, like Olivia, or like shout out to like Topo Chico,
right?
And brands like that. Like there wasn't enough of that happening, so people, and I think we touched on this earlier with Olivia off camera. Is people like to think that their things are going to get taken if they share certain information, which I don't think is pertinent information. Like, I think it's like, just tell me who you know. Like that really is what is holding, some people back is the information.
Yeah.
But what needs to happen more is people like you and like platforms like this, where we're going on here and we're showing different artists and different people that are tapped in, because I feel like there's so much artistry in Massachusetts that we forget to make room for like the non-artists. You know what I mean? Like, everybody's so artist up that like we're all in the room being artists, but we forget, like, all right, like we don't got to do that all the time. Like, you can reach out and like do normal stuff. Like, it doesn't always have to be, art related. And I think that people get jaded by that. I think me personally, I'm a big fan of, if you want to come hang with me, don't just ask me about music, bro. Like I'm more than that. Like, I am way,
100%.
I'm so much, there's so much more to me than the music.
100%.
And I think that if we start to approach these, if you approach a relationship from the start, like, what can I get from this person? I mean, I think that's what happens a lot, is like, we're all trying to get something. So we approach these relationships like, oh, this dude knows so-and-so, so I'm going to try to get something from him so that I can get to, rather than like, that person's really cool, I want to get to know them. How can we build? How can I intertwine my stuff?
Sure.
How can we both, benefit from? And I think it's just more, there needs to be more of that happening, because there's so much of like, take, and then I'm gonna run off, I'm gonna go do my thing, and then I'm gonna say that, I did it on my own, you took all those ideas from that guy, but it's just like, yeah,
or just like, you brought up another point that I thought was, or that is now sparking a thought in me. It's like, how do we maybe get people to care about the scene here? And sometimes it's, and I feel like the only way we try to do it's like, well, we push the music, but is there different ways in which we can engage with people that are not necessarily in the music scene in order to get them to care? Like, you know what I mean? Like, for example, if it's like, if we have this fundraiser for this specific cause, and then we have like an artist or two to like come in and perform there, like, okay, it's not specifically for the music, but like, I don't know. Like, I think that there's, like you said, building with different brands, or building with different companies that maybe have initiatives that they're aligned with music, but you can get that you're reaching another audience outside of that. You know what I mean? Because I think that, it's hard to get people to care about something that they don't really know much about.
Exactly. That is, I think that is it. They just don't know about it. This pertains to this, but I'm going to use this analogy. So when I started working at my job, I didn't know about, so it's the Boys and Girls Club. I didn't know about the Boys and Girls Club. I didn't know what they were about. I had no idea.
Huh.
So like, I knew they existed, but I didn't know what it was. I just thought it was like, the Y, like free gym, you could do whatever. So when I get there and I see how everything works and I'm actually in it, I'm like, oh, this is like really dope. And so I think it's one of those things where you have to get those people. This is an aspect of it. You have to get those people that are in those positions to make that type of stuff happen. Like the Grace by Nias, the Topo Chicos, the New Balances. Like, we have so much big brands here that there is no reason why, Felix isn't performing the middle of the Boston Celtics. Like, he should be. Felix is.
That's what I love about what the Celtics did this year a lot. They brought on, in just this year alone, they brought in Millie's,
Cousin
Stiz, Brandy Blaze, and Ysham, Oompa, and then they just had Yelena Rodriguez. Like, that to me is dope,
and it's more of that.
Exactly, and I'm glad that the buck didn't just stop at a Millie's, because again, when you think of, like, I didn't even need to be in the scene to know about who Millie's was, right? Like, as a music head, I'm familiar with Millie's, right? I'm familiar with Joyner, I'm familiar with Stiz and Christmas and all these people, but it's okay if I'm going to a Celtics game and I get to like see Yelena Rodriguez, and like, again, she's incredible.
Yeah.
But maybe I don't know about Yelena Rodriguez, right? Like it's again, I think you brought up the point of like getting the art getting it in front of people that it might not be the intent to go to a local show.
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying? Because it's like, but there's always, usually most of the time, there's 17,000 people in the city that care about the Celtics, right?
Exactly.
And even if it's at halftime, if half of them go to concessions, you're still you're performing in front of 8,000 people.
Yeah.
Maybe that reaches even a sliver of those types of people, right?
Exactly.
It's getting the art in front of people that maybe would never, again, you could hand them flyers all day long to Middle East tonight or exit galleries or diaspora or all these places, and they're just like, oh, cool, okay, and then it finds its way in the trash.
Exactly.
Because it's like, and they might go and they might have a great time if they go to that show, but they don't know that. They don't. So it's one of those things of like, how do we get it in front of people?
How do you get it in
and
front?
I hear you. I think these brands is what is gonna do it. Like that's why I applaud the Celtics.
Yeah.
Right. It's really dope.
It's that stuff. It's the sync stuff. It's getting that. It's Latrell.
Latrell's a great example.
Latrell got the Cheerios thing. Like he got put in front of so many people. Now, granted, for a while they was just calling him the Cheerios guy, but I'm sure he didn't care about that because he got in front of so many different people.
Yeah,
and he was able to then use that to catapult. So it's. I don't think it's one thing. I think it's multiple things that have to, and I think that is I think that is going in the right direction. I really do. I mean, it's going to take just more. I wouldn't even say collaboration because it's not about music at this point. It's just people coming together and getting to know each other and having that sense of community because every other music town is like that. New York is like that. Nashville is like that.
Yeah.
LA is like that.
I'm even thinking about recently I just went to Harvard Rap. If you're familiar with them, like that's a newer entity, right? Yep. They just opened up their own sort of division in the Harvard Law program. They have like now like they call it the Recording Artist Project, and
super cool.
And it's great. I went there. It was a couple weeks ago and weekends ago, I should say, and it was awesome. Man, they had 3 different panels. They had one for like specifically music licensing and music law.
Dope.
One that was more catered to like journalism and media, and then one that was catered to A&R.
Wow.
And they brought in all these, very successful and either executives or people that work at these big companies like Complex or Double XL or is that like Def Jam record label or whatever. Fire. And like it's bringing, I think too, it's understanding that, because I was having a conversation with somebody the other day, one of our engineers here, and he was saying like, what separates Boston from some of these other cities, like you said, like a New York or like an Atlanta or like an LA, where you can't walk down State Street or you can't walk down, I don't know, pick a street in Boston.
Right, yeah.
And you can't walk into a record label and drop off your demo.
Right, exactly.
Right, like you can in New York, or like you can in Atlanta, or you can in Chicago even, right? Or like let alone LA. But how can we utilize what we have here at our disposal?
Spotify's here.
It's exactly.
Spotify's in Cambridge.
Right. But then I'm thinking more or less from the education standpoint.
Yeah.
What do we have here that not a lot of cities have? It's a college on every other corner.
Colleges, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's like, is that the angle? Right? I don't know. Or is that part of the angle? Is that a piece of it? You see what I'm saying? It's like, I think from a standpoint of understanding like from a Boston culture, is it the education part? Is it the history part, right? Because again, a lot of people come here for the history. If they're going to visit, they don't come. They don't, unless if you're going to visit Massachusetts on quote unquote vacation. I feel like Boston's not. Maybe if you're going to go to the seaport these days, that's like a place to go.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's like, oh, we're going to go to the Cape. We're going to go to
right.
Gloucester, or we're going to go to the White Mountains in New Hampshire, or we're going to go to Nantucket, right? Like those are the destination for like
exactly.
But from the city of Boston perspective, what do we have? That is the one thing though we have. Education. We have a shit ton of colleges.
It'll always be that. And it'll always
we're the college town.
Yeah. It'll always be. And
so
you'll have to fight that because Harvard ain't going nowhere.
No.
Boston College ain't going. Like
those colleges.
BU's
not going anywhere.
Them colleges are not going anywhere.
Mass Art, you got there's just Northeastern, right? Wentworth. There's so many colleges. And so I feel like, I don't know, is that the angle now?
Yeah, I think
an angle that we can take.
It definitely an angle. Like, I think that there's power in, utilizing that community for sure. I just don't know. It's interesting.
Berkeley too is another one.
Berkeley's huge.
Berkeley College of Music.
Huge. Berkeley's a huge one, and people people are in and out of Berkeley like crazy. Mm-hmm. But I'm not sure if that definitely is a route. It's just one of those things where it's like that college sound is so specific, like you have to catch it like right, at a certain,
Yeah.
So it's like Stiz, like he could do that, and Felix could do that. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But some people can't. So it's one of those things where like
piece of the part.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, obviously we're not solving it here, but I feel like it's one of those conversations that I hope is ongoing here, and that we sort of start to And I think there has been a lot of infrastructure that's taken place. And, I feel like I've definitely built something that's a piece of that structure, and I'm like grateful for that, and I'm appreciative of that. I'm appreciative that anybody ever cared about anything I was doing. Seriously, right?
Me too.
It's pretty cool. Like from that standpoint, it's dope. Mm-hmm. That any artist would care to come on this show, or care to be a part of a show we're throwing, or whatever it is, right? Like, or an album that I'm working on. Like it's there's that stuff, and then there's other, like I said, there's a lot of platforms that are really trying to continue to build that infrastructure. Because if we don't have the record label sort of structure that other cities have, then we got to build something that is relevant enough to come here. Maybe it ends up being Harvard Rap. I don't know. Maybe it becomes a bunch of us platforms coming together and creating something. Maybe it's something entirely separate from that. Maybe it's all of those things combined. Maybe. Like, who knows what it is? Mm-hmm. But all I know is that we're in a better place we were than 5 years ago when I got into this thing.
I think what also makes me like really excited about this scene is the amount of artists. Like it's
insane.
They just keep popping up, and they all sound good. They just keep.
I know.
I'm like, you guys everybody is good. Like everybody is good.
It is. Between artists that I want to have on and then artists that want to come on, where I'm also like, no, you're dope enough, like, or you have enough value where like I totally want to have you on the show. Yeah. But usually the list I have of artists that I want to get to,
I believe it,
whether or not that have inquired or that I want on, is like, it's overwhelming. I'm like, damn, like, because there was before, like, I wasn't sure how long Turntable Teachers was going to last, because it's like, how many artists are there really for me to interview in New England? But there's freaking plenty, man. There's plenty. So it's got, and they're all doing something either dope in their own right, or like carving a path for themselves, or carving a new whole thing entirely, right? Like there's, like you keep bringing up Felix, like Van Buren's a great example of something that they had a vision for, and they did it, right? There's so many different people that are creating so many unique. I think about someone like a Neems, right, or a Key, or still Gold, right?
Zola Simone.
Yeah, Zola Simone, man. Mm-hmm. I mean, talk about how much growth she's seen. And I just saw, I think her new EP just got 250,000 streams or something crazy like that to the date that we're. Yeah, shout out to Zola. Like that's cool, man.
Yeah.
To see that shit, that's cool.
This is artists just like I had no clue, like just coming up, and I'm just like, yo, like
Felix was on a Brent Faiyaz album. Yeah. Like that's sick.
Yeah, he had like almost 1 million monthly listeners.
And like, crazy.
He's going crazy.
Chase Murphy, I just saw, he just dropped a song with Rex Life Raj. Who I love Rex Life Raj, and I'm like, I'm on my For You page or whatever on Spotify. I'm looking, Chase Murphy's on a Rex Life Raj track. This is what I'm saying. It's like, we definitely have artists here that are doing things, and it's like
it'll either be a label comes here and turns it up, or we just keep growing, and then the buzz is just unbearable. Like they'll have to do something here. That's the only way I see things changing. Is them going like, all right, Boston's hot, we got to put something here, or like we just take over, you know.
Time will tell.
Yep.
Leo the Kind, everybody. This has been a fantastic episode, bro. I'm like so appreciative of having you here and you coming down. This is definitely an episode I've been looking forward to for a while.
Yeah, me
and
too.
I think it definitely it exceeded expectations, at least for me.
Word. It's good to hear.
It's great. Yeah. You did a great job. You were a great guest. Can't let you go quite yet, though. Our last segment of the show is the open response. And in the open response, we do the dream song scenario.
Okay.
So I'll structure for you. You get a song. All right, it's a Leo the Kind song. And you get up to 2 producers and 3 guest artists, dead or alive. Can be anybody on that song.
2 producers.
Up to 2 producers, up to 3 guest artists. Who would be on Leo the Kind's dream song scenario?
Okay. Producer number 1, Rick Rubin.
I just got through listening to a podcast with him recently with Andrew Huberman. Incredible.
That man's a genius.
I totally recommend it.
That man is a genius.
From the creative standpoint, oh my God, I aspire to be Rick Rubin.
It's so funny because he'll say, and I really don't mean to have this sound the way it's gonna sound, but he'll say stuff in there, and I'll be like, I was thinking that. It's like I be thinking that shit, bro. So,
but he just puts it in. He puts it in like a more coherent way.
He does. He does. And I'd be like, I be thinking that shit, bro. So definitely Rick Rubin, Kanye West. Those are my 2 producers: Rick Rubin, Kanye West. My 3 different artists. Without me, or is it?
You're on it. It's a Leo the Kind song.
All right. So 3 different artists. So, dead or alive. That's good. Wow.
We don't restrict out here.
I'm gonna say SZA.
Okay. I don't know if anyone's ever said SZA, which is surprising to me.
Yeah, you think about this song, right? Rick Rubin, freaking Kanye West, SZA. All right, that's excellent. That already sounds fire.
That's already a number 1 hit potential there.
SZA. This is a tough one. Bruno Mars.
Okay. Got some harmonies out here.
Bruno Mars, yeah, that's gonna be fire.
There's gonna be some harmonies.
SZA, Bruno Mars, and Post Malone. That's what I'm gonna do.
No kidding.
Yep.
Leo the Kind featuring SZA, Bruno Mars, and Post Malone.
Can you imagine that song?
Produced by Rick Rubin and Kanye West. I think it would be a number 1 smash hit.
That would be a record.
We're manifesting that into reality. Leo the Kind, thank you so much for being here, my brother.
Thank you, Mike, man. Appreciate it. This is dope.
This has been great. This has been great. The only thing left to do would be plug away. So anyone else that you want to shout out? You shout a lot of people, but
shoot, man.
Anyone else you want to shout out? And anywhere the people can find you.
Yeah.
You know, anything else you want to plug? Now's the time.
Listen, I'm gonna shout out again, Swag and Bassman. Y'all my homies, man. I really appreciate y'all. I'm gonna shout out to Mike because he's dope. I'm gonna shout out Rilla Force again because that man is on a different level. Y'all really need to tap in with him. I want you guys to check out my stuff on Spotify. Please, Leo the Kind on Spotify. Check out Dark. Check out A Lot of My Mind. A Lot of My Mind is getting a lot of love right now. It's really fire.
Great song
to watch. Look out. Well, so Up All Night will be out by this time.
100%.
So I ain't even got nothing to say. That's a fantastic song. I've been wanting to release that song for so long, and I finally have been able to do it. So check out Up All Night. Please tap with me on Instagram. I would love to just, chat with you, DM me, say what's up. And yeah, I mean, that's it. Also, shout out to my parents, I guess. But yeah, that's it.
And if you're a fan of Leo the Kind and you're just kind of finding us through this whole ether thing for the first time, you can follow us on Turntable Teachers on Instagram and TikTok. Hit up our website, turntableteachers.com, for all the latest. And then if you are an artist, podcaster, or content creator of any kind, make sure to reach out to us at aoastudios.org. Before we log off, I just want to say something that I think this is really cool. So yeah. I want to obviously give one more shout out to Still Gold and Mo Pope and Absolutely. Ark, Tim Hall,
yeah,
all you guys, right? Yep. Because this is really dope right now because we had met in April, and then I think that July was or August, whenever it was the Gold Fest.
Yeah.
And then I was walking to, I think I was in between sets getting food.
And this is crazy.
And I ran into you.
Yep.
And with Olivia. Right? And it's just cool that we're all here now in the same room.
Fire. Shout out to Still Gold.
It's kind of dope. Mm-hmm. It's kind of dope. Shout out to Still Gold. And then just shout out to like manifestation and serendipity, honestly, right?
Absolutely, yeah. There's too much going on.
Yeah, regardless of what you believe in or whatever, man, like the universe is an interesting place. So I just wanted to take a moment to reflect on that and bask in that a little bit because it's pretty cool.
Really
pretty cool. It's dope.
It's crazy that we're here now.
If you haven't heard his music yet, you got to check it out, guys. Leo the Kind, people. This was Leo the Kind, and well, this was a lot of fun, and we'll have to have you back again.
Absolutely, Mike.
At some point.
Shout out to Turntable Teachers, man. Y'all rock, right?
Thank you, bro. Appreciate you. Well, as always, people know I'm Mike. That's Olivia behind the ones and twos, and that's Leo the Kind right here with the Turntable Teachers, and class is officially dismissed.
Turn.